Welcome to the Thinking Director channel, where thinking differently leads to living differently. There's a simple truth in life. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't always talent, luck, or resources. More often, it comes down to a quiet, consistent habit. Something I call the parent habit. It's the one habit that gives birth to all others. The habit of remembering, every single day, what it is you truly want, and then doing something, no matter how small, to move toward it. Think about it. Most people only think about their goals when they set them, maybe at the start of the year, or after a life-changing event. But the rest of the time? They're swept away by the busyness of daily life. They wake up, get through the day, go to bed, and repeat. Weeks turn into months, months into years, and that big dream quietly fades into the background. The parent habit changes that. It forces you to keep your dream alive in your mind, not in a pressure-filled way, but as a living, breathing part of your daily reality. When you carry your goal with you every day, you start to notice opportunities you once overlooked. You make better decisions. You create momentum, not through grand gestures, but through small, deliberate actions repeated over time. This isn't about working harder. It's about working with awareness. About making sure that the life you want isn't something you chase in bursts of inspiration, but something you build brick by brick, day after day. Because here's the truth. Success doesn't usually come from one giant leap. It comes from 1,000 small steps, all in the same direction. And the parent habit is what keeps your feet moving. Let me tell you a story you might find familiar. It's the start of a new year. You sit down with a fresh notebook, maybe a cup of coffee, and you write out your goals. You feel inspired, maybe even unstoppable. This year will be different, you tell yourself. And for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, you're on fire. You're reading, researching, taking action. But then, life creeps in. Work deadlines pile up. Family responsibilities call. A few social events here. A few, I'll start again tomorrow, moments there, and before you know it, that list of goals is buried under bills, receipts, and everyday clutter. Months later, you find that notebook in a drawer. You flip through the pages and think, oh yeah, I remember this. I really wanted to make it happen. But by then, the spark feels dim. The energy you had at the start is gone, replaced by a quiet resignation. Maybe next year. Here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with you. This isn't about willpower or discipline alone. It's about visibility. When you stop looking at your goals, literally and mentally, they stop existing as something urgent in your life. They become background noise. The parent habit is the antidote to that. It's the daily act of bringing your goals back into focus. Not just as a vague idea, but as something you see, think about, and nurture every single day. Think of it like tending a fire. If you don't add wood or stir the coals, the flames die down. But if you feed it, just a little each day, it stays warm, ready to grow brighter whenever you need it. Your goals are the same. Ignore them for too long, and they cool. Keep them in sight, and they stay alive. So the question is, will you keep letting your goals gather dust in a drawer? Or will you start feeding that fire every single day? Part 2: The Compass Effect. Imagine you're sailing across the ocean without a compass. You might start out heading in the right direction, but with no way to check your course. You'll eventually drift. The longer you drift, the farther you get from where you wanted to go, until one day you realize you've ended up somewhere entirely different. That's what happens when you don't think about your goals every day. You start out aligned, full of intention, but then life's winds push you, emails, errands, other people's priorities, and before you know it, weeks or months have passed. You're still moving, but you're no longer moving toward what matters most. The parent habit acts like a compass. By revisiting your goals daily, you're constantly checking your bearings. Even if you drift a little, which is normal, you catch it early and adjust. It's much easier to make small corrections along the way than to try to change course after you've gone miles off track. Stephen King once said that he writes 1,000 words a day. Every day, no matter what. That's his compass. He doesn't need to guess if he's making progress on his novels. The habit guarantees it. Whether or not you like horror stories, there's a lesson here. Small, consistent actions, guided by a clear sense of direction, can lead to extraordinary results. Without a compass, you're at the mercy of the current. With it, you have a say in where you end up. And here's the beautiful thing. Your compass doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as a question you ask yourself each morning. What can I do today to move closer to my goal? Keep asking, keep adjusting, and no matter how unpredictable the seas of life get, you'll keep steering toward the life you truly want. Part 3: The Power of Visibility. Here's something most people don't realize. Your goals are like plants. If you keep them in the light, they grow. If you hide them away in the dark, they wither. Too often, people set their goals and then put them somewhere they can't see, both literally and mentally. They file them in a folder, tuck them into an app, or store them in some safe spot, and then forget about them. Out of sight, out of mind. But when you can see your goals every day, something shifts. They stop being distant dreams and start becoming part of your daily reality. You notice opportunities that align with them. You make choices, sometimes without even thinking, that move you closer. I once knew someone who kept a single photo on their desk, not of a loved one, but of the house they wanted to buy. It wasn't fancy, just a printed image from a real estate listing. But every morning when they sat down to work, it was right there, staring back at them. That house became more than a picture, it became a target. Within 3 years, they were living in it. That's the power of visibility. When your goal is always in your line of sight, it becomes harder to ignore and easier to act on. So here's a simple challenge. Put your goals where you can't avoid them. Write them on a sticky note and put it on your bathroom mirror. Make them your phone wallpaper. Hang them above your bed. You might feel a little silly at first, but over time, you'll notice that your focus sharpens, and your actions naturally start to align. Because the truth is, it's not enough to set a goal. You have to keep it alive, and the easiest way to do that is to keep it visible. Part 4: Turning Goals into Daily Life. A lot of people think achieving a goal means adding a huge new task to their already busy schedule. That's why so many give up. They see it as one more heavy load to carry. But here's the secret. The easiest way to make progress is to weave your goal into what you're already doing. If your goal is to get healthier, maybe it's not about joining an expensive gym or spending 2 hours a day working out. Maybe it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator, swapping soda for water, doing 10 push-ups before you shower. If your goal is to write a book, it's not about finding a perfect 3-hour block of quiet time. It's about carrying a small notebook and jotting down ideas during your lunch break. Or writing 200 words while your coffee brews. When you embed your goals into your daily rhythm, they stop feeling like extra work and start becoming a natural part of your life. Over time, those small moments add up to something powerful. Think of it like adding a new ingredient to a recipe you already cook every day. You don't have to change the whole dish, just add one thing. Consistently. Eventually, that ingredient becomes part of the flavor you can't imagine the dish without. The parent habit thrives when you make it effortless to practice. If it's hard to start, you won't do it consistently. But if it fits neatly into your life, if it's as normal as brushing your teeth, you'll keep doing it without even thinking. Small steps, repeated daily, become part of who you are. And when something becomes part of who you are, you don't have to force it anymore, it just happens. Part 5: The Chain Reaction of Action. One of the most beautiful things about the parent habit is that it doesn't just keep you moving, it creates a ripple effect. One action leads to another, and before you know it, your momentum takes on a life of its own. Think about the last time you put off doing something. The longer you waited, the heavier it felt. But once you finally started, sent that email, cleaned that room, made that call, you suddenly felt lighter. You might have even thought, why didn't I do this sooner? That's the chain reaction in motion. Taking a small step today doesn't just move you closer to your goal, it makes tomorrow's step easier. And the next one easier still. Eventually, you're not pushing a boulder uphill, you're chasing it as it rolls forward. I remember hearing about a man who wanted to get back into shape. At first, all he committed to was putting on his running shoes each morning. That was it, no promise to run, just shoes. But once the shoes were on, it felt silly not to at least walk a little. Walking turned into jogging, jogging turned into running, and months later, he was doing marathons. The same applies to your dreams. Small, low-resistance actions create a forward pull. You don't have to start with grand gestures, you just have to start. And each time you do, you're telling your brain, this is who I am now. Here's the truth. Action breeds more action. Waiting for motivation is a trap. You don't act because you're motivated, You get motivated because you act. The parent habit works because it removes the waiting. You're not hoping inspiration shows up, you're building the road for it to travel on. So if you feel stuck, lower the bar. Take the tiniest possible step toward your goal today. Then take another tomorrow. That's how you turn a spark into a wildfire. Part 6: The Garden Principle. Reaching your goals is a lot like growing a garden. You can't plant seeds today and expect a harvest tomorrow. Growth takes time, and it needs care, not once in a while, but every day. Think about a plant. If you water it today and then forget about it for a month, it won't survive. But if you give it just a little water every day, it thrives. Your goals work the same way. They need small, consistent acts of attention to stay alive. The parent habit is like being a dedicated gardener for your own life. Some days, tending your garden will be exciting. You'll see new sprouts, flowers, or fruit. Other days, it will feel boring, just more watering, more weeding. But even on the boring days, every bit of care matters. I once heard someone say, "You can't pull on a plant to make it grow faster." And that's true. No matter how much you want instant results, forcing them only harms the process. All you can do is show up every day, give the right kind of care, and trust that the work will pay off in time. The danger is that when progress isn't visible right away, we think nothing's happening, but under the soil, roots are spreading, the foundation is forming, and one day, almost without warning, growth will become visible. This is why the parent habit matters so much. It keeps you showing up, even when you can't see the results yet. Because often, the most important growth happens in the unseen stages. So, if you ever feel impatient, remember the garden. Remember that consistency is the sunlight and water of any dream. You can't control exactly when the harvest comes, but you can control whether the plant survives long enough to bloom. Part 7: The Subtle Art of Repetition. There's a quiet magic in doing the same thing over and over, not because you have to, but because it builds something inside you that can't be rushed. Repetition gets a bad reputation. People see it as boring, mechanical, even soul-crushing. But when it comes to your goals, repetition isn't about mindless routine, it's about reinforcing identity. Every time you repeat an action, you're not just getting closer to your goal, you're telling yourself, "This is who I am." Think of a musician practicing scales. It might seem tedious, but each repetition strengthens their skill, sharpens their ear, and builds muscle memory. Over time, what once required intense concentration becomes second nature. The same applies to any dream, whether it's writing, building a business, improving your health, or mastering a craft. The parent habit thrives on repetition. It's not about doing something huge once in a while, it's about doing something small every single day, until it becomes part of your DNA. There's also another hidden benefit. Repetition removes the drama. You don't wake up wondering, "Should I work on my goal today?" The answer is always yes, because it's just what you do. That mental clarity saves energy and keeps you moving forward without constant decision-making. I remember talking to a friend who had run every single day for 3 years, rain, snow, or shine. He told me, "It's easier to run every day than to decide which days I'm going to run." That's the power of repetition. It removes choice, and in doing so, removes resistance. Here's the truth. Motivation fades. Inspiration comes and goes, but repetition builds permanence. When you repeat the right actions long enough, they stop being something you do and start being part of who you are. And once that happens, progress becomes inevitable. Part 8: Shaping your environment for success. Your habits don't just come from willpower. They're deeply shaped by the environment you live in. You can have the strongest intentions in the world, but if your surroundings constantly pull you in the opposite direction, progress becomes an uphill climb. Think about it. If you're trying to eat healthier but your kitchen is stocked with chips, cookies, and soda, you're setting yourself up for constant temptation. If you're trying to save money but you spend your weekends at the mall, just looking, you're walking straight into the lion's den. The beauty of the parent habit is that it works even better when your environment supports it. When you arrange your surroundings so they make the right actions easier, and the wrong ones harder, you create a natural flow toward your goals. Want to read more? Keep a book by your bed, your desk, and in your bag. Want to work out more? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Want to spend less time on your phone? Delete the apps that drain your time, or move them to a hidden folder. One of the smartest moves you can make is to design your environment so that the default choice is the right one. Remove friction for good habits. Add friction for bad ones. There's a saying I love: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Your environment is part of that system. And when it's designed with intention, it silently pushes you toward the life you want, day after day, without you even noticing. So don't just think about your goals. Look around you. Ask yourself, does my environment make the right choice the easy choice? If not, it's time to start rearranging. Because when your surroundings are aligned with your vision, you're no longer fighting against the current, you're letting the current carry you forward. Part 9: Guarding Against Distraction. In today's world, the hardest thing isn't finding information, it's protecting your focus. We live in an age where everything competes for your attention: phone notifications, emails, breaking news, endless short videos. Every time you get pulled away from your goal, you're trading a piece of your time and energy for something that often doesn't matter in the long run. The parent habit sounds simple: remember what you want every day and take action toward it, but it's fragile. Let distractions creep in, and your internal radar turns off. And when that radar is off, you can miss opportunities that are right in front of you. It's like driving toward a destination with your GPS on, but then turning it off halfway and stopping at every store with a flashy 50% off sign. Sure, you might find some fun things along the way, but you're no longer moving toward where you truly wanted to go. Distractions aren't just external, they can come from inside you, too. You want to lose weight, but every time you're stressed, you reach for fast food. You want to start a business, but you spend your mornings scrolling through social media. You want to learn a new skill, but you schedule practice time during your favorite TV show. In moments like these, short-term comfort wins over long-term vision, and the more often you choose short-term comfort, the easier it becomes to choose it again. So how do you protect your focus? 1. Identify the thieves. Make a list of the things that most often pull you off track. Awareness is the first step. 2. Build barriers. Use app blockers during work hours. Move your phone out of reach. Rearrange your schedule to protect your goal time. 3. Set a golden hour. Dedicate a fixed time every day for working on your goal, free from all distractions. 4. Reflect daily, each night. Ask yourself, what did I do today to get closer to my goal? If the answer is nothing, make tomorrow different. Distractions are silent thieves. They don't sabotage you in one big blow. They chip away at your progress until you realize you've stopped moving. That's why the most successful people say no far more often than they say yes. Not because they're antisocial or rigid, but because they understand that every yes to a distraction is a no to their dream. Protect your parent habit like you'd protect a seedling from harsh winds. Without that protection, even the best goals can get uprooted before they grow. Conclusion: the golden rule of all success. We've journeyed through many stories: Stephen King and his 1.000 words a day, Bon Van Chewett and his enduring health, Mock Van Gat's persistence in learning English, lessons about love, about nurturing plants, the power of repetition, the role of environment in driving action, and the warnings about distraction. All of them revolve around one simple principle: every single day, remember what you want, and find a way to move closer to it. It sounds simple, and it is, but it's that very simplicity that causes so many people to overlook it. They chase complicated systems, grand plans, only to burn out or forget why they started. Yet the real secret lies in keeping your goal alive in your mind every single day. If your goal only crosses your mind once a year, it will wither and die. If you think of it only every few months, it will stall and fade. But if you look at it daily, like a tree you're tending, you'll find ways to water it, to nurture it, and sooner or later, it will grow strong. You don't need giant leaps. You don't need bursts of blazing inspiration. You just need a deep longing and steady action. A little each day, and one day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. So starting tomorrow, ask yourself one single question. Today, what do I want, and what will I do to get closer to it? Hold on to that question as a daily habit, for your work, your health, your relationships, or anything you truly value. Because in the end, all success begins not with one special day, but with many ordinary ones. When you still wake up, remember what you want, and quietly move toward it.